All right, we'll call this meeting to order of the Jeffco Airport Advisory Board. We'll take a roll call. This is not the month that we have new members. It's next month.
Be October at the earliest.
Okay. So we are. There's been so many changes. Remind me who we're missing is
Dr. or James Einoff resigned.
James Iowa resigned.
Dr. Wood is not here. We don't know why.
Okay. So that Dr. Wood is the one I was missing.
Yeah.
Everyone else is.
We'll just get the public stuff.
Oh, perfect.
There we go.
All right. It's like
All members present.
we have all members present and accounted for now. And we do, I confirm we have a quorum. So moving on to approval of minutes from the July meeting, I will entertain a motion to approve those minutes.
So
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Say aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, those minutes have been approved. Next, we have a public comment. If anybody has arrived late, feel free to write your name on. We have one person in public, probably one online.
Not online at the moment.
Oh, not online at the moment. So we'll start with in person. You have 3 minutes to go. I'll give you a little nod if you're running up for 3 minutes.
I'm Alan Robita from Rock Creek. I saw the revised traffic pattern on the agenda tonight, and I just wanted to say thank you to Eric Dahl and anybody that helped them getting it done because it's way overdue. I think it's a no-lose situation. Any aircraft coming in or in the traffic pattern are going to be 25% higher above ground in the houses. I think it's a great thing. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Looks like that's all we have for in person. All right. Anyone online?
No one online.
All right. We will go ahead and close public comment. Thank you, everyone. Moving on to business items. Looks like you guys are up.
I guess I could kick this off. We invited Peter from Cutter to come present. They are new to this field, not new to the Front Range market, but I'll just start with that intro and let you introduce yourself and everything else that goes on next year.
Sure. Thank you very much. And thank you for inviting me out here to talk about Cutter. I'm Peter Hokinson, Vice President and CFO for Cutter. So what I've done, we've put together a little bit of a presentation here to give you some background on what is Cutter and kind of talk about some of our locations. And we'll try to keep this. And if you have any questions as I'm going through it, feel free to jump in and ask it. I'll try to answer it for you. So moving along, who are we? Basically, if you look at the lower right-hand
call him now. So we will continue on where we left off with Cutter. Thank you very much.
Sure. So just continuing on here, as I started to say, Dave Clifton is in charge of basically maintenance, charter, aircraft part sales, and so forth. Richard Campbell is our VP of all the FBO operations that we have. As well, he helps me a lot with a lot of the new construction we're doing, and you'll see a lot of that what we're doing. I'll give you some examples of it. Heather is our director of HR. Adam Riccardi is our director of safety. You know, when I was looking at this chart, I was sitting there going, how many years of experience do we have here? And I was adding it up. I came up with 184 years of experience with those 6 people. Unfortunately, Will and I make up about half of it, so go figure. But I thought it was kind of interesting that there is a lot of experience there, and it's a good team, and we all work well together. So if you go to the next one, Cutter by the numbers. Again, as I mentioned, we started in 1928. When I started with this company in 2020, we had about 210 people. We're currently up about 410. So we've grown about 200 people in the last 6 years. We have 11 locations, 6 FBOs, 6 maintenance, and 3 aircraft dealerships. I'll talk about the FBOs, maintenance, aircraft dealerships in a little more detail here. And like I said, we're closing in on nearly 100 years, and we're pretty excited about that. So you look at the aircraft OEMs that we deal with from an aircraft sales standpoint, from a dealership perspective, it's Pilatus, Piper, and Tecnam. Pilatus, you know, all you guys are pretty well familiar with Pilatus. Our territory is basically Southern California, Arizona, New Mexico, Colorado, and Texas. Piper is pretty much the same as Pilatus, with the exception Colorado's not in there. And then Tecnam, I'm sure some of you may have heard of Tecnam, some of you may not have heard of Tecnam, but Tecnam is an Italian aircraft manufacturer. And we just started representing them last year. And so right now we have this our territory, Arizona and California. So they're relatively new to us. We're starting to learn what that particular aircraft's about, and we just sold a couple of them here just recently. So we're pretty excited about having them on board as well too. And then we do basically obviously aircraft sales, and then we service all of these for maintenance too at our locations. So looking at the locations, Phoenix, Arizona, and this is what Eric was talking about earlier, the tower here, that was the original air traffic control tower for Sky Harbor Airport back in the, God, I don't know when that was, might have been back in the late 70s, 80s. When they built a new one, we got permission to put that as part of our new construction that we were doing here for Phoenix. So Phoenix is the only location that basically, of those lines of service that I mentioned earlier, of FBO, MRO, charter, and aircraft sales, Phoenix is the only one that has all 4 of them at their resident location, at that location. It's got about 160,000 plus square feet of office space and hangar space. It's also where our corporate headquarters is located. And we sit on a little over 1.1 million square feet of ramp space at that particular location. So about 25, 26 acres. So it does a little bit of everything. And it's our biggest FBO by far compared to what we have in the other locations. Prescott is relatively new to us. We bought this in 2022. And it's similar to Phoenix. It's the only other location where we have a combined MRO and FBO together. Okay. So they do basically Piper maintenance work, and now they're also going to be doing the Tecnam maintenance work for us as well too. So it's about 27,000 square feet sitting on 10 acres. You'll see a picture later. We're looking at building a new hangar out here, so it's one of the many projects we've got going on. But it's doing very well since we acquired it, and we're quite pleased with it so far. Denver, this is the other location of Denver here at APA Centennial. We have basically 2 hangars out there. It's kind of where we started the Pilatus maintenance work. And we got 31,000 square feet of hangar space there. We only work on Pilatus at that location. And so it's, you know, we're gonna be figuring out what to do with that location here in the near future. As you'll see, if you go to the next slide, we've got the Broomfield location here. We bought the Lumen facility that was over there on the corner here back last year. We have, basically remodeled the whole office area inside. And we're now we basically are closing in on bids to build the second hangar on it, on the vacant land that's right next door to it. So we're looking at putting in about 17,000 square feet of hangar space and shop space at the back of that. So between that and the 24,000 square feet that exists already, that'll put us right around 40,000 square feet of space on that particular site now. So again, we're pretty excited about it. We wanted, as Ben will tell you, we've tried to get out here a few times. We wanted to be closer to Pilatus because we have a very close association with them and a very good relationship. But this was the next best thing, and it worked out very well for us. So we're pretty excited about it. Addison, Texas. Again, this is a maintenance only. This is our largest maintenance facility of all of them in terms of square footage as well as volume of sales. We have about 61,000 square feet of space here across 3 hangars. It does very well. Addison's up, if you're not familiar, it's up in the northern part of Dallas. It works on several of our aircraft. It works on Pipers, it works on Pilatus, it works on Honda jets, it works on Beechcraft and so forth. So it's got a pretty wide assortment of aircraft that it does. San Antonio is another one in Texas there. This is a relatively, we basically had this one built and it was completed around 2020. Almost 39,000 square feet of basically 2 hangars. So it's a nice looking hangar. It's beautiful inside. We're pretty excited. Like Dallas, it does, Piper, it does Pilatus, it does Honda Jet, it does TBM, and so forth. So it's very similar nature, but they kind of pull from different geographical areas for the most part. Looking at the FBO side, as you can see in the map, those are the 6 locations of where we have our FBOs. And again, if for those who are familiar with FBO, or not familiar with it, it's basically the transient aircraft coming in and get service for fuel and other required service, catering and so forth, or maybe it's hangar storage or whatever the case may be. So we look at these networks. We've got go ahead. Albuquerque, which is the original FBO. This isn't the original building it started in, although I think the original one still may be on the airport. It's an old Quonset hut. Epic has it now, not Epic. I forget who has it. I'll have to figure that out. But anyway, this is about 600,000 square feet of ramp space with about 110,000 square feet of hangar and office related space. And again, it's the original FBO that we started with, and so it's kind of near and dear to us as we go forward. Colorado Springs. We built this facility in 2018. You really can't see it with that kind of that green roof where the airplane hangars are. That's actually a log cabin that we built for our terminal. It's very, very unique in the FBO world. If you're ever out there or you want to look at our website, you get a much better picture on it. I apologize, that picture is not very clear, but it's very nice. And everything that we used to build it was sourced out of Colorado here. So it's kind of unique. The hangar behind it is a 60,000 single space hangar that we built for Sierra Nevada. They're doing some military work in there. And so that's, kind of special for us too. And the hangar right to the right is, a hangar we bought from the city and is basically our storage for tenants and so forth. And this is another one we're going to be doing another hangar on coming up here we'll talk about. Deer Valley, this is basically North Phoenix. This is a growing area, probably the best growing area of Phoenix right now. We've got 1.1 million square feet of ramp space there on about 168,000 square feet of hangar space. These 2 hangars here are part of a complex that we built and completed in 2023. There were actually 3 hangars in there. And that was about 60,000 square feet of space we put in and about 4,000 square feet of office space. We're working on another 3 hangar complex there right now. And so that's going to be about 55,000 square feet. So Georgetown, Texas, again, like Prescott, this is one we bought in 2022. This is basically north of the Austin area. So it's also in a very good growing area as well. We've got about 189,000 square feet of office and hangar space on 620,000 square feet of ramp space. And again, like the other ones I just talked about, FBO, it's solely an FBO kind of operation. Safety is pretty much paramount to everything we do. We don't want to cause injuries, 1, to our employees, 2, to our customers, 3, to their aircraft. So we're very, very focused on it, from our mechanics getting factory training, whether it's from Pilatus or any of the OEMs that we deal with. If we get factory training from them. We have FAA oversight. We applied for the Diamond Award for our mechanics, and I think pretty much all of our locations have achieved that. And we continue to look for ways to improve. When we go out and do a tugging operation on one of our aircrafts across all of our FBOs, we first film the airplane all the way around, just make sure there's no damage to it. It protects the customer, it protects us as we go forward. So we look at those kind of things and how to make it safer for everybody as we move forward. So very important to us. Looking at some of the investments we've got going on, you see up at the top, Phoenix, right now we're working on about $15 million worth of facility improvements. And a lot of this is we refurbished some hangars that we're moving our maintenance into, which is really kind of on the lower left-hand side, that picture. We basically redid the whole thing inside. You name it, we touched it for the most part. Then we're also looking at, we have a couple of customers that bought new, or they're processed buying new airplanes that, guess what, don't fit into the existing ones. So I don't have room to build new hangars. So what we're doing is we're taking the front end of the old hangars off. We have room to make the doors wider and taller. And so we're doing that so we can get their airplanes in there. So like I'm doing that to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hangars in order to get that, make that happen. We're going to put new ramp space in there. We got to tear up some of the ramp and put new asphalt down there, and a few other minor things that we'll be doing there. Broomfield, Colorado. That number's a little wrong. It's really about 17,000 square feet of hangar and shop space. Prescott will be putting in 20,000 square foot of hangar space. Albuquerque, we're building a new fuel farm, 102,000 gallons. The old fuel farm is underground. It's been under there for a really long time and needs to come out. So we're going to do that. Colorado Springs, we're going to put another 20,000 square foot hangar in there. And Deer Valley, like I said, we're going to do 55 to 60,000 square feet of hangar space as we move forward. So we've got a lot of projects. They're all in different various stages of moving forward. And they're going to keep me busy for a while. So this is kind of a look at the facility update we did at Phoenix and Sky Harbor in the MRO facility. That's the hangar on the left there. And then that's kind of the lobby area, the upper right, that we have for customers when they come in. And then that's kind of the break room for the employees. It's a significant change from what it looked like before. And we're pretty excited about it. And better yet, the employees are really happy for it as well. This is basically what the facility at Deer Valley is going to look like when we're done. Roughly 60,000 square foot. Those doors will be dependent upon what we agree with the City of Phoenix Fire Department, will be probably 28 to 52 feet tall. Allow pretty much any airplane that is a business aviation today to get in there, and the doors will be about 134 feet wide, so it'll accommodate just about anything. This is Broomfield. The hangar on the left there, it says Pilatus. That's the existing one. The one on the right will be the new one. This is the office space, inside on the top right. And then the unique thing, the way the original hangar was built in 1979 by Lumen, it's going to allow us to basically take that common wall out, so that it's basically going to be open all the way through. So we can have very clear sailing through it, and gives us a lot of maneuverability with the aircraft in there. So This is the hangar we're gonna build in Prescott, 20,000 square feet. It'll be the first, tenant hangar that's on that airport that we have, so we're pretty excited about that, and we've got a lot of customers looking to sign up for it now. On the charter and aircraft, this is where, Anna Cutter she's in charge of this. Basically, we have about 19 aircraft that we own or we're managing for other people. And if it's owned by someone, it may be involved in charter operations, it may not, maybe just for their individual use. It could be anywhere from a Pilatus single engine PC-12, could be and then up towards a Cessna Latitude with the aircraft that we currently have in the fleet. So far through about halfway through the year, through June, we flew about 2,700 hours. Estimating we'll do probably close to 4,500 hours of total flight hours for the year. And I think we've got probably 25 pilots right now, part of that. We've received recognition from several institutes. AIN is part of the FBO surveys. The logo below that is Pro Pilot. So we always do fairly well in those surveys that they do, and we're proud of that. Pilatus, we've been several years, we've been their #1 sales for the whole world. So we're pretty excited about that. We've been the same for Piper for a few years. And then the FAA is where we get the Diamond Awards for our mechanics through getting a certain level of service. And that's it. We're 100 years strong or close to it, and we're looking forward for the next 100 years.
And I'll add on just Peter, you mentioned that you've been trying to get in this field for a while, and I definitely recognize that. And I wanted to have you guys present because this is what we view of as a very complementary use to some of the tenants that are on this field. So glad you guys were able to make it happen. But it's one of those, you come, you create jobs, you invest in hangars here on the field, you develop where there was just a little bit of space left that was a logical hangar, and you guys know how to build on airports. That's very refreshing as well, clearly from all the projects. So yeah, just happy to kind of showcase them as a good tenant, and from all the projects you saw, maybe similar types of development as we picture over on the southwest side, like we'll talk about later.
Thank you.
Peter, thank you for coming.
You bet.
Presentation. Just one question I had. You mentioned the BJC, you're building it out. Looks like you're adding another hangar, things like that. How many people do you typically employ at like a hangar size that big?
An MRO typically would be somewhere around 30 to 40.
Awesome.
So will they be new hires?
Yeah, they're all going to be new because a lot of the ones we had down in APA it's too far for them to drive, and they're not going to want to make that commute. So all the ones we so far have in here so far are all new hires.
Peter, what does payroll look like for 40 employees for you?
So our pay range, let me do it this way for a mechanic. It depends upon years of service, obviously. But it's probably 40 to could be over 100,000 for pay at some point in time if they have enough of the skill sets that you want. And you have quality people in there, you have mechanics, we're going to want avionics people as well as just A&Ps. We have admin people in here, so it's a wide assortment, but the payroll for here is pretty STEMmy overall because we've got aircraft salespeople get paid fairly well, and then the admin people get paid pretty well too.
All right, thank you very much.
I have another question now. So from what I heard or understood, and correct me if I'm wrong, you're primarily focusing on Pilatus and Pilatus maintenance to start with?
Here, yeah, at BJC, yes.
Any other questions from the board?
All piston or all turbine stuff, no piston.
No piston.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, perfect. Thank you, Peter.
You bet. Thank you.
No more fit to size anymore.
Wow, that caused a thing to crash.
All right, That's fine. Okay, so as alluded to, we're here to talk about traffic pattern and altitude adjustments. I want to preface this with, I do not have this official, I have it officially told to me that they expect it to happen on September 3rd. Until I actually see it in NASA, we'll just assume it's happening, okay? So let's start with the next slide. So one preference for what is a traffic pattern, because we talk about traffic patterns a lot, and I think it's important to clear up a couple things about traffic patterns because of the way that I and potentially other airport and pilots draw them. It's a way to coordinate and move aircraft in and out of the airport in a safe and efficient way. You can think of it as the way the airplanes come in and out of the airport's traffic. And what we're talking about here is generally raising all of that up 200 feet. But there are a couple things that go in with that, wind direction being one of them and other factors. But next slide. So we have a voluntary noise abatement plan, and we'll talk about later how this might change based on the traffic pattern altitude change. But when we're drawing traffic patterns, we're drawing it on the VNAV, we draw these nice clear lines that delineate where the traffic patterns are located. But in actuality, they don't really look like this in practice. The pilot will never really practically fly this line. And so you can think of a traffic pattern more as a segment of lines and just dedicated turns. That's probably the best way to think about it. A turn downwind, a turn upwind, a turn to base, a turn to final. It's best to think of a traffic pattern as a sequence of turns and lines than a dedicated racetrack. We draw it this way, I draw it this way, but in actuality, the plane does not necessarily fly to that path. Excellent. So when we're talking about traffic pattern altitudes, generally the altitude for the traffic pattern is 1,000 feet AGL above the airfield's elevation. That's set in FAR aim, that's the expectation that pilots have, and that's what I wrote when I wrote the letter to the FAA asking for the increase in altitude was, hey, why are we 800 feet? The reasons that we were there potentially don't exist. But it's not always 1,000 feet. It depends on airfield's elevation, other things, other factors. Like for us, Stapleton was one of the concerns why we were at 800 feet. We don't publish our traffic pattern altitude, but then neither do Centennial, neither does Erie, neither does Fort Collins. Boulder and Greeley actually do publish their traffic pattern altitudes in the digital supplement. So it's not always something that you see. And sometimes the non-standard ones get published and sometimes they don't. It's kind of hit or miss. So what we're trying to work for here is standardizing it. We were 800 feet, as it said, 6,500 feet MSL. And then beginning September 3rd, that's at least the forecast for NASA, we'll be moving the traffic pattern altitude to 6,700 feet AGL or 6,000 feet MSL, roughly 1,000 feet AGL. It's actually 1,027 feet, but I was counting 1,000 feet AGL over the traffic or over the airfield elevation. And you could expect us then to post a couple of things. We'll post the traffic pattern altitude in our digital chart supplement. We'll put it in our airfield remarks. No doubt Sydney will post it and broadcast it to the world once we actually do know and have confirmation that it actually is occurring. But I want to make sure that we're properly staged to have this conversation and say, hey, we expect this to happen. And expect more details later once it does. Next slide. So why now? We've been trying to increase the traffic altitude probably for a while here at the airport to get it up to 1,000 feet. In January 23rd, 2025, I sent a letter to the FAA in which I asked, hey, the reasons we were at 800 feet no longer exist. Why don't you guys evaluate and see if we actually can increase it up to 1,000 feet to where the national standard is located? It did take a while for the FAA to actually evaluate that request for an increase, but the FAA as a holistic body said, no, that sounds good, and they passed it off to air traffic control to implement. And so air traffic control is expected to do that on September 3rd. Next slide. So how will this change operations? And this is kind of a difficult thing for an airport to answer because I don't have any control over any of this stuff I'm about to say. The airport would expect, but I can't require planes to come into the Class D at 6,700 feet. Right before, it was 6,500 feet, or today, it's 6,500 feet. And we would expect it to increase to 6,700 feet on September 3rd. So planes coming from the north or coming in from outside, they can be an additional 200 feet higher than they are today. We expect the voluntary noise abatement plan to be updated based on that TPA. And I believe we have the next couple slides. include the actual letter that was submitted, as well as potentially the draft changes for the VNAP. And this VNAP change is pretty isolated just to the traffic pattern. That slide up on top that Ben just passed mentions traffic altitude to 6,700 feet. And I did take the opportunity to mention that we are now selling unleaded fuels. So I did update the implementation plan there, talk about we do have unleaded fuel. We started selling it on February 17th. And adoption has been fairly decent. Centennial is going to probably end the year with about 13% of their avgas being unleaded, and we should end the year with about 11%. So we just started, and we're doing pretty good compared to Centennial, who has the most unleaded fuel bought of any airport in the country. Next slide is just an update of the map. I did update the lower left-hand corner to mark the transition up to 6,700 feet, the pattern at 6,700 feet, and then just change the revision dates so that people know that it's different. That is generally the conversation around traffic pattern altitude. I can try to answer any questions, but once again, tentatively, September 3rd. Please watch NOTAMs, watch our digital chart supplements, watch for Sydney's excellent social media feeds to get an actual feed once we know. We would expect to have formal notification one cycle prior. So we're waiting for August NASR cycle to end, and then we should know, hopefully within a week or two, that it's actually going to transpire.
Appreciate your work on it.
Yeah. Well, it's been a process, but hopefully air traffic control can implement it, and we'll see planes flying higher soon.
Yeah, I echo that. I appreciate all your work on that. I know it was a lot of effort. I for one am shocked at how quick they moved on something. Even if after it's been a year and literally everyone is aligned, I think it goes to show us.
And alive still.
And alive still. I think it just goes to show us if everybody's in agreement, it still takes time to work through this process, but we can get it done. So thank you for that.
Yeah, no problem. I don't want to accept anything until you see it. If it doesn't happen, you don't come tell me. I don't know, but like, we're really excited. Hopefully it occurs on September 3rd, and you'll see more later.
All right, then we'll move on to the Southwest Development Area RFP. This was presented to the Airport Advisory Board back in September of last year. We thought it was worthy of bringing as a separate agenda item, just as it comes towards the due date in October. And kind of update you on what the RFP ended up looking like, and along with questions that we received during the formal question period. So this will be kind of background for some of you, but the Southwest Development Area is 90 acres of aeronautical property. The airport has planned to develop for aviation uses through a number of master plans, and it's now possible to do so because of two reasons. Sim Street being realigned further south into the Verb Innovation Park, and then the extension of taxiway Kilo, which is finishing next week, hopefully, to allow access for aircraft into that area. So it is now developable property as of maybe next week. So the county and the airport kind of decided to take a careful, thorough view of how we take interest in this area. So that's why we went up for a request for proposals, and I'll kind of go through that now. As we mentioned, so the north side of the airport, as many of you know, is almost entirely developed. Qatar is building on one of the last little pieces on their leasehold. Shelter has developed a lot of the other remaining developable property here in the last few years. So there's no room at the end on this side of the field, essentially. And so we know we still have interest in development. I maintain a list of developers who've asked for possible ground lease at the airport over the years. And so that's why we published this RFP. It is the time to now say, if you're interested in developing here, show us your best idea, and we'll go through the RFP and kind of what we're looking for. But that way, it allows us to consider those proposals in a transparent, kind of fair, objective way. So the goals, as outlined in the RFP, I won't read all of these verbatim, but it's the development of land, creation of jobs, and contribution of aeronautical activities at the airport through the highest and best use of aviation property, and also to diversify airport revenue sources and kind of be that hopefully see some complementary aeronautical uses. In addition to creating a favorable operations profile, so that balancing economic investment and airport development with the impacts on the surrounding community, as well as hopefully have some sort of attributes of sustainability as part of the development. The RFP does include some kind of conceptual lots that you can see there on the map. Since the RFP was published, we actually have had some movement in 2 ways from this map. We were able to announce that Jet Aviation is coming as the 3rd FBO to the field, and that was on an existing ground lease that was not part of this RFP. But that is happening, and then Pilatus decided to exercise their right of first refusal for one of the lots that was included in the RFP. So that lot is no longer available, but we're excited to see them continuing to invest here on the field. Eric created this nice RFP evaluation hierarchy, which is how we would like to kind of start looking at how we consider and rank specific types of development proposals. So the priority there is shown on the right. Like, we're not interested in kind of standalone single box hangar ground leases. In fact, the RFP kind of explicitly discourages that with a minimum lot size. But we know there's development or demand for GA hangars, and we expect there to be some of those proposals submitted. And so then it's a matter of how do we lay out those developments across the area. But we would prefer kind of those large leaseholds to site those first, and then kind of work with what's left, or work towards the back with more GA hangar space. You can see the priorities and goals on the left there. And then in terms of method of award, there's some important caveats here. We reserve the right to award a ground lease to any or all or none of the proposals. So we're going to see what we get in mid-October. We'll put a scoring committee together and really evaluate them from there, based on the qualifications and criteria in the RFP. And that's why we're doing a formal RFP through Jefferson County, is to really hold us accountable to how these are scored. Ultimately, if there is a desired proposal we want to go forward with, we will enter into lease negotiations. So winning the RFP isn't the last step. We need to then define leaseholds, and then ultimately negotiate a ground lease with each potential offerer. And like I said, we might have more than one, probably more than one interested proposal. So what is submitted might ultimately be what's built. We'll have to kind of work through that over the coming years. We had a presentation about the RFP, I think in April, and we then entertained questions that were due by a specific date. Here's a sample of the questions that we received as people worked through their thoughts on whether it was worth making a proposal. A question that has come up at this advisory board before is, will there be an effort to relocate GA to the southwest side of the field as part of this development? The answer is no. This is not tied to any sort of redevelopment on the north side of the field. We'll probably review that as part of the next master plan in 2027. But again, there's no tie of, if something gets developed on the southwest side, it impacts something on the north side. There was a good question about timeline for constructing the adjacent taxiway Lima, the one that's parallel to taxiway Kilo. We don't have a timeline for this. The next 5 years of CIP does not include funding for that parallel taxiway. We have funding, and we can perhaps partner with developers if there's a reason or a demand to construct that parallel taxiway sooner, or there's a possibility of constructing essentially like a bypass to allow aircraft to pass each other if need be, based on what we're looking at for development. For questions about permitting and environmental reviews, the environmental part was considered as part of the taxiway Kilo extension. That modeled a projected increase in operations. If developments are kind of consistent with that, the environmental might be considered to be done. If they're not consistent, if we project it to look differently, obviously we'll have to work through the FAA NEPA review process. And then for permitting, this is an unincorporated Jefferson County. It'll go through the standard permitting process through them, probably a grading permit and a building permit. But that also kind of depends on what the ultimate use and proposed development looks like. Another question was about access control and site coordination. We are not currently proposing to create any sort of formal public airport access through the site, but again, that'll also depend on what we're looking at. But we're assuming that proposals will kind of work through what they think they need in terms of access to their site. If they expect to have a lot of demand for public access, they probably should locate on the periphery, not on the inside. But a lot of things to work through based on what we see. In terms of schedule, we are through those first 4 items. So I said questions were due June 15th. We actually responded to those questions on June 29th. And then we're now just waiting until proposals are due October 15th, I think at 2 p.m. to the Jeffco purchasing. We'll evaluate those later in 2026, hopefully with the goal of having recommendations in November, ground lease negotiations in the winter of 2026. Ultimately, anything needs to be signed by the county commissioners. This would ultimately end up as a ground lease to be signed by them. But really, if I'm looking further out, I think the earliest we'd see construction starts is 2028 for any proposals we might receive. If anyone's interested in learning more, we have a project page on our website, Southwest Development Area under Airport Projects. If you want to get directly to the RFP, it's a little awkward how to do it. It's bidnetdirect.com/Colorado. That is the RFP number, or I get there by just getting there. You do have to have a login, and then you search for Southwest Development Area. That'll get you to the RFP itself. You download the documents. It's interesting. When you download the documents, it actually creates a log of who's done so. We have over 40 people who
4 pages.
Yeah, interested parties, individuals or corporations who've downloaded those documents. So that kind of speaks to the interest and number of people who are at least looking at it. And that's on the RFP at the moment. Any questions there? Okay. Seeing none, I'll keep going to project updates. First thing is capital projects. Kilo and Delta AIP 69 is almost done. We're doing a final walkthrough next Tuesday. Hope to have the runway back open either tonight or tomorrow. I haven't heard. I was hoping to have good news as of right now, but I have not heard. But again, that project is almost fully complete, and it's taken a little longer than we wanted to. Thank you for pilot's patience, as one of those runways has been closed for a good amount of time. But happy to have it wrapping up. But then our attention will move on to the second phase of Taxiway Delta. Our contract has been partially executed at this time. We're waiting to have it signed by the county commissioners. After that, we'll talk construction start date, but it's likely after Labor Day. But anticipate having that one still complete by the end of the year. This one will also include a longer duration closure of 30 left, 12 right, at least 30 days for that Delta 5 reconstruction. So we reconstructed Delta 6 as part of the current project. We will reconstruct Delta 5 as part of this project. On the airport planning, the Part 150 study, we are still revising our noise input memo to respond to the FAA comments about using current operations data, given the kind of the shift in the study timeline. We are hoping to submit that new revised forecast and input memo to the FAA here within the week. I wish I could tell you like we have dates set, because we had announced dates earlier in the year and then had to wait because of FAA comments. We are hoping that early to middle fall, we will have the next round of focus group meetings and the second open house, but TBD pending FAA approval of our revisions. And then I hand it off to the city.
Okay. I do have an update that's not included in these slides. We have a new county manager that was announced today. How do you say this? How do you say it?
Are you gonna make me say it?
Laura.
Birthday?
I'm not sure how to say her last name, but Laura is her first name, and she seems wonderful. The staff was told this morning, so I just wanted to let you know. that announcement has been made. I told you guys at our last meeting that we had moved our noise reporting system to something called Catalyst, which is on your Jeffco. So just a reminder slide here that we launched that tool that is aiding us in our efforts to engage with users, community members, and airport stakeholders. We're using it to collect noise reports and other general airport inquiries. The link is listed there, and so far we haven't received any feedback on like this isn't working or it's hard to use. It's all been pretty positive. So just a reminder there and an update. Next slide, please. Some events. We had our car show at the end of July. Emily and I in that photo there, we had our booth. Pretty good attendance. We talked to a few people that came up and asked some questions about the airport. And then last weekend was the Mile High 150 event. Eric manned the booth for us there. And there was about, what would you say, 2,000 people?
Yeah, that's what Commander of Air Force said, about 2,000 people came.
So that was a good, successful event as well. And then upcoming, we are doing an airport tenant barbecue again, like we did last year, just for tenants. And then we'll participate in the Louisville Labor Day Parade, Broomfield Days, and Westy Fest. Next slide, please. And then we sent out a press release announcing our foam transition. So we transitioned both of our ARF trucks from AFFF to the fluorine-free foam, or F3, which meets performance standards required by the FAA. We hired an environmental services company to complete this transition. And this work just supports our commitment to environmental stewardship and responsible airport operations. So that is done. Both trucks have been transitioned. And those are all my updates for tonight. Any questions?
All right.
That
That's it. I'm a little nervous that we've missed some public comment requests when the WebEx went down, so you allow me to check on that.
do you recall if the WebEx was up when we were going through?
It should have been up in the beginning. I don't know when it cut off.
During Cutter.
Okay, we do have Brandy, who looks like maybe you wanted to, so.
Due to the technical difficulties, and I know we have about a few minutes left, I will allow and reopen the public comment for that. If Randy is still on and would like to make a comment, and same policies apply, 3 minutes and everything else. So.
All right, Randy Johnson, you're unmuted. Thanks for hanging with us, and apologies for the missing your public comment request, but if you're able to, please provide public comment.
Yes, can you guys hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can, and go ahead, you have 3 minutes.
Okay, yep, sorry about that. Boy, you just got really quiet. Yeah, this is Randy Johnson. I live south of Chatfield, southwest of Chatfield or southeast of Chatfield by Highway 85, and I normally talk about airplane noise, and I appreciate you guys letting me do that. I'll go through quick. I got lots of numbers. They've actually gone up. And I'll mention I have airplanes from Centennial and also Rocky Mountain. And actually, Eric came to the Noise Roundtable last Wednesday and saw him. It was great to see somebody I recognized. It was like, hey, hi, it was great. Yes, and I write down the number of planes. Actually, I wrote down 609, mostly training planes, which is a lot higher than obviously I had in the past. 272 were from Centennial, 148 were Rocky Mountain, and I actually noted this time 77 from Air Force Academy. They're going from Academy up north. They're the SR-20s. And I submitted 160 complaints to Centennial, about 5 a day. A lot of the planes been turning and flying directly over. And 16 to Rocky Mountain, which was a little low. I wanted to do, but too busy with Centennial. And of those 16, I just added those up. I'll say most of them were training planes. I don't know who the flight schools haven't figured them out up there at Rocky Mountain as well as I have down in San Diego. This is just FYI. Of those 160 complaints, I broke them down to our APA centennials just to give you an idea of what I know. Aspen 66, ATP had 16, flights had 41, Centennial Flyers were 15, Independence 7, and other were 15. So that's just sort of the breakdown of that. Obviously, those numbers don't apply directly to you, but just it's kind of information I have. I've had a lot of planes flying over. The ones from Rocky Mountain, uh, they are spreading out, but some are coming faster and lower, and some do look like they're sort of turning to come over. So it is some complaints on those, but I think that's basically what I have. Appreciate you letting me do public comment because I didn't see anything appear online. It was interesting until another person was speaking. So I didn't see a request for public comment. So or so I was here.
Thank you, Randy. Yeah, we were having a little technical difficulties, so glad we could get you in and rectify that.
And thank you so much for letting me do that.
Perfect. All right. I don't have anything else on the agenda. So it looks like the next meeting I have on the calendar is September 9th. That's correct. Yep. Just want to confirm. Is everyone available for?
I may not be, but
Okay.
it's debatable right now.
Neither will I.
Unless I can bring my 3 grandkids for them babysitting.
A lesson in civics.
Yeah, right? You'll get a lesson already.
Just so the board's aware, while we're down a few members, in order to have a quorum for any given meeting, to have at least 4 in attendance. Per bylaws. So just keep that in mind. Obviously, people are obligations. Just communicate well with staff so that we know ahead of time if we need to cancel.
I tell you what, I could call in on Zoom. So I'll be available by Zoom.
And I'll definitely be there. Do we have 2 more? Oh, sounds like we'll have enough for a quorum, so we'll go ahead and schedule for the 9th, and then we'll see if we need to update that. And then hopefully in October we'll have a full board. Won't have to worry about that so much. Perfect. Anything else from the board? Any questions, comments?
Ben, just one thing. So you think maybe 3-0 left will be open possibly tonight or tomorrow?
Tomorrow, that's the point.
Okay, great.
Don't celebrate too long.
No. Yeah, no, that's great.
Post on social once it's officially open and then send out constant contact.
Closes again, when?
We don't know yet. It'll depend on when we can issue the notice to proceed for the second phase, but I would just off the cup, probably October and November. Actually, I've got my engineering team in the room, put them on the spot. Maybe we can ask them after.
Just curious. Perfect. Anything else? I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second. We got a motion and a second. All in favor? Any opposed? All right. See everybody in September 9th. Sounds good.
So what's going on?